This is Moneyline Mania with Chaz and the crew.
We've had this betting show on our network for a very long time, and these guys are awesome. So I want to introduce Chaz again from last week and his crew, Wes and Mo. So shout out, Chaz. What's going on, buddy?
I guess I've just been hanging around the industry long enough because I really do have a crew of really good handicappers, and some of them do it for a living. Some of them just do it to pay for season tickets for the Chiefs game. Both these two are from 151 Sports Investing, and all weekend long, we text back winners, and there's not a sport these two can't handle.
We're very happy to have you guys on. You guys are the best handicappers, and forever, months and months of talking to Chaz. Chaz told me, Wes and Mo and all the other guys deep inside of what's going on in sports, the parlays and all that other stuff that you guys talk about on your show. So we're very happy to have you guys on our show.
Yeah, and I think we mentioned last week, we treat this educational aspect very, very seriously. I know Wes does, and Mo's right there. We really do believe that if I can make you a better, it's going to help you in the long run. Remember, winners don't go to GA meetings, guys. Losers go to GA meetings.
Speedy needs to learn how to bet because he's not a very good betting man, especially when he picks games. He really goes beyond the thoughts of betting. He understands statistics and understands who plays well in what stadium and if it's raining, if it's cold or it's snowy. But for some reason, every time he does that, he's wrong. So I wouldn't say to bet on any of his picks. But you guys...
But you remember, one of the things we talk about is the reason why Las Vegas has all these lights is because of a point spread. If it wasn't for the point spread, sports betting would be easy.
I've never bet on any of my picks. If I bet on my own picks, I lose.
It changes the pressure. I'll never forget, a couple of years back, my wife was winning her company pool to the point where they thought I was giving her the plays, and she got in a fight and almost got suspended. By the end of the year, guys, she couldn't handle the pressure. She couldn't even watch Monday Night Football when it was a tiebreaker, because once you start betting, it changes the game.
I am not the best bettor. Parlays and money lines and spreads, I am not the guy to talk to. These guys are the guys
talking Portuguese, right? Well, you know what I think we should do? Let's start with Mo, because I talked to Wes already, but I don't know what Mo's thinking. So we got two games, Mo. Let's start with that first game, because that's a game that your buddy's going to be at, right?
Yeah, we'll both actually be there. Both of us got season tickets.
Oh, you're going as well. How exciting.
Yeah, so we'll be meeting there at like 10 or 11 in the morning. So I've got the first half, -4.5 Kansas City. I don't know about the -7.5. It just seems a lot for me, especially for a team that just won 4 weeks ago. So I'm going to pump the brakes on that, but I think first half -4.5 should be an easy play for me.
You know, it's so funny because the way we bet is so different than most people. Most people talk only about the game. We might have 9 plays already cashed, or sometimes we lose. Don't get me wrong, we lose occasionally, even though we don't lose that often on Thursday nights on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. That much I do know. It really does change when you get to that backdoor cover. There's no such thing as a backdoor cover in the first half. They don't try for it.
You're right, though, because there's so many different ways that we look at the game. The pre-game action, that is just if you think that the line is dead wrong. But most of the time, we're into a game making adjustments so that becomes the cherry, that preseason action that we laid. I'm actually looking at this game a little bit differently too. I am a Chiefs fan, so if I told you the Chiefs are going to win and cover, you wouldn't take me seriously, and I don't blame you. But the way that I'm looking at this game, if you go back the last 3 seasons with the Chiefs in the playoffs, there were 3 games where they scored first, 2 of which they lost. And one of them was the Browns. They ended up smoking the Browns. But the Chiefs don't come out guns blazing in these playoff games. They typically, the other team scores first. And statistically, if you remove the Super Bowls, the Chiefs are averaging 17 points in the second quarter. The second quarter game total is 16.5. It may go down, but going into this game, I'm laying action on this over 16.5 for the second quarter. If the Chiefs are averaging 17, I would think that even though Joe Burrow thinks that it's going to be not as loud as an SEC stadium, I would think that Cincinnati's probably going to be able to contribute to help us a little bit with that over 16.5. Now, if we get off to a slow start, anything under 16.5, I'm loving that too. If we can catch that at 13.5, I'm probably going to add a half a unit to that. But my play is over 16.5 for the second quarter.
It really is sweet when the line moves in that direction, because those numbers nowadays, remember in the old days, 13.5 was solid rock. For some reason now, when they moved that back and the kickers hit holes and kickers miss extra points going out of style. It's just crazy. One of the things that I do differently, this is the only week of the year that I'm not going to talk to you about who's going to win and who's going to lose because I really don't care. I do, however, like both team totals over, and I'm going to tell you why. I have 2 team total overs that I like, and it's for both favorites, but I'm going to cover the Kansas City one first. I break down a spreadsheet, and I look at who's the leading receiving touchdown person, who's the leading running touchdown person, and I break it down for their last game. So I got the divisional round, the wild card round, week 18, week 17, week 16, and week 15. And the amount of touchdowns that Kansas City scored just is incredibly more than the amount of touchdowns that Cincinnati scored. What I'm doing is I'm looking at finding those, and I will know by Sunday morning. For right now, the play that I'm going with is I'm taking the Kansas City team total over for every opportunity that they offer, because the live action doesn't offer it.
They like to run out of fireworks at Arrowhead. They run out of fireworks because of so much celebration. So 40 points 2 weeks in a row, I think you're onto something there.
Well, Arrow, how cool is it that both of these guys are going to be at that game? Isn't that wild?
It is wild. I wish I was going to the game. I'm not that lucky. We're going to be swimming in the snow over here, 22 inches of it. So it's not going to be fun.
One of the things I've always heard, my son went to a game with Wes. I've yet to. I don't think John from GMF Sports Consultants has either. The bottom line is I've heard it's the best environment in the NFL.
Not looking forward to the snow. You guys are going to Kansas City. It's not supposed to be hitting over there in Kansas City. So you guys are going to be 40-degree weather while we'll be sitting in 16-degree weather when it's ice and snowy.
We're in the teens. It'll probably be in the 20s. Anytime you want to take the trip, we got some burnt ends, some world-class barbecue waiting for you. We'll take you tailgating, and you could even wear a Giants or a Jets jersey. We won't hold it against you.
I am not a Giant fan. Don't throw me under the bus. I'm a Jet fan, and that doesn't send anybody happiness because our team hasn't won in 51 years.
Arrow, you mentioned your picks are pretty good on this first game. Do you have an opinion?
I was listening to Wes, and I would agree with him. I want to see the Bengals win. I want to see Joe Burrow. I want to see the young kid really showing. He reminds me a lot like Tom Brady. Very poised in the pocket. He got hit and he got sacked 9 times. I think it's going to even be worse this week. Ingram and Jones, and you do have the Honey Badger coming back from the concussion. I think they're going to use him in blitz packages a lot in this game. It's going to cause a lot of problems, especially with that bad offensive line with the Bengals. I expect the Kansas City Chiefs to get an early lead and not look back. I think they're that good offensively. Defensively, I don't know how good the Bengals are offensively, and Jamar Chase, as good as he has been over the last couple of weeks, what he's been doing in the playoffs, there's something that tells me in the big game he's a rookie. I think he's going to get lost in this game. I think T. Higgins will be more of a big option for a guy like Joe Burrow. So I think if it's a 7-point spread, I would bet on that.
I'll throw something out. Week 18, wild card, division, not one Chase touchdown. They only scored 5 times in those 3 games.
Mm-hmm. He's a special player. I just think he's young, and it's going to take him a little while to figure things out. Last week, he had a pretty good playoff game.
Yeah, but Andy Reid's a pretty good coach, and I would imagine that's one of their jobs, Wes, is to take away the best weapon.
I would think so. I am scared of that 3-headed monster that the Bengals have at wide receiver. A lot of people forget T. Higgins has national championship pedigree. That's a Clemson wide receiver. He was part of the team that beat Bama. These players, they've seen some big stages.
Speedy, who you got?
I have the Chiefs on the over probably just because you got to think the Bengals are still going to put up a fight. The thing that concerns me the most is why it's still not an obvious over comparatively is the Bengals' red zone offense has had a lot of trouble. And like Errol was mentioning, I think the Chiefs will game plan much better for Jamar Chase. They did a great job against Stephon Diggs. As much as they struggled against everybody else, they did very well against Stephon Diggs, held it to just 7 yards on 3 catches. So I don't think Chase will be that bad, but it'll definitely be limited. And then the Bengals' offensive line definitely concerning against that Chiefs pass rush. Melvin Ingram, especially with a huge spark. I'll probably take the over, definitely covering the -7.5 because I do think they'll pull away in the fourth quarter.
The only way the Bengals win is if Mixon has an unbelievable game and they control the ball with their running game.
How do you win a game with 9 sacks?
The thing with those 9 sacks, though, is they were not playing against a team that will make them pay from the benefits of those sacks. If the Chiefs even get 6 sacks, they will make you pay, whether it be through good field position or an extra 3 points on the board. Ryan Tannehill is not making you pay.
That's the downfall of the Titans. Steve Spagnuolo is going to come with a bunch of blitz packages. They're going to pressure them, and their only hope is going to the run game with Joe Mixon.
Let's ask you guys. San Francisco fooled a lot of people, Errol. Did they fool you?
No. San Francisco has won 6 straight games against the Green Bay Packers, and that really stands very highly when it comes to Aaron Rodgers. I think the snow and the cold definitely affected Aaron Rodgers' throwing option. They couldn't run the ball ball. They were trying to pitch the ball to Jones, and doing that, the defense was figuring it out. And San Francisco's too good defensively to do that over and over again. And Devontae Adams, they completely took out of the game. They don't have any other options. So this is a different game. And I think the LA Rams are a little bit more dangerous with Odell Beckham, Cooper Kupp, and Van Jefferson. I think there's more weapons, and I think it's going to be harder to shut one out and not the other. So San Francisco's going to have a lot more problems to try to stop these weapons on the outside. But I do believe that they can get to the quarterback. Nick Bosa is a beast. If they cause havoc early in the game and throw Matthew Stafford off his points, San Francisco definitely can win this game. It's very hard to beat a team 3 times in a season. I don't know if that's going to happen in LA this coming weekend.
Well, let's hear from Wes, because Wes has some very strong opinion. And I've talked to Wes for a long, long time, many years now, and I don't remember such a strong opinion as this game.
If you are of the belief that San Francisco is the play, don't take the points. Play the money line, because a lot's going to have to go right for San Francisco to be in this game, and they'll win the game. They're not going to lose by 3 to keep it within 3.5. San Francisco deserves credit for the 2 games that they've just won. They've just beat 2 playoff teams. Both of those games are but they were a Dallas mismanaged play clock away from losing that football game. Then they really had no business even flying into Green Bay. They shouldn't even have been flying coach into Green Bay. So without even breaking down X's and O's, you bring up a good point. 6 times in a row, I don't think it's going to be 7. But if you just look at rosters and personnel, coaching probably a push. But then you go quarterback, and then you go running back, and then you go defense, and you just start matching up the players. There is not one part of this game where San Francisco has an advantage other than on the offensive line. I think the only weakness that the Rams have is on their offensive line. But at the same time, Odell Beckham is clicking at the right time. You talk about an easy transition to a team. So my play here is not just the 3.5. I'm actually looking at how I can find more value. I think the 3.5 is happening. I think that the Rams are going to win big. I'm looking at the 6.5, and I'm also looking at the 9.5 for some plus money on those, because I really think it's going to be that kind of game. The historic part of it is we are going to see an NFC Championship game and a Super Bowl in the same stadium 2 weeks in a row. On top of that, if the Chiefs win, they're about to play against an opponent in their home stadium in back-to-back Super Bowls. You talk about wild. I think it's Rams all day. Find some value.
There's nothing that's going to change. It's Rams. That Von Miller trade is paying dividends now. He's a beast. Aaron Donald's tuning it up for the playoffs. And you look on the other side of the ball, right? You've got Cam Akers, who's back and who's healthy on the running side. You've got Odell Beckham. You've got Cooper Kupp, who just led the season. They don't stand a chance. Kyle Shanahan is a phenomenal coach, one of the best. Sean McVay is just better, man. I think the offensive schemes are going to come out. Are you going to pass it or are you going to run it? I don't think San Francisco has an answer. And the biggest part is Jimmy G can't score. You have to be able to keep up with the Rams by scoring. And if the Rams are putting up 30-plus points and Jimmy G can't do a touchdown, I don't see how they stay in this game. I'm looking for a blowout. I'm looking at the plus 6.5. Parlayed that minus 3.5 with my Chiefs pick. So it's Rams all day.
Yeah, so just some easy sports data numbers for you. In the first half, in their last 6 games, they've given up 3 points, 3 points, 3 points, 3 points, 0 points, and 13 points. That's the Rams. At home, in 4 games, they give up 7-3, 3-0. That's in the first half. If you can't score 17 points in the first half, you're not beating the Rams.
I agree with you. I think the Rams are a predominantly great offensive team, and now adding Von Miller and Aaron Donald, I think he's going to cause havoc in the middle. I think they're going to put pressure on Jimmy Garoppolo, and Jimmy Garoppolo, as good as he played against the Rams before the season's end, and Jimmy Garoppolo had to play good for them to get into the playoffs. It's a remarkable story, the fact that they're in the NFC title game. Kyle Shanahan should get all the credit for it, but Kyle Shanahan has choked. The Atlanta Falcons with the Patriots in the Super Bowl when they were up 28-3. He stopped running the ball, and the same thing happened against Kansas City in the Super Bowl with 5 minutes left. He stopped running the ball. You have a great running team, and you stop running the ball. This team is not healthy running the ball. All 3 running backs are not 100%. They're going into the game crawling. I don't think they're going to be able to run the ball against this defense. I think the Rams are going to dominate the game. I agree with both of you guys. I think this game is going to be easy.
There was never a point this season where we would even put San Francisco in the conversation of the Final Four, let alone them winning this game and going to a Super Bowl. That truly would make this all about the tournament and not really about anything in the middle.
Mo said that Jimmy G's not getting him in the end zone. In the last playoff game, they had 1 touchdown. Before that, 2. Before that, 3. Before that. So in their last 5 football games, they've had 2 touchdowns or less. The Rams are going to score more than 2 touchdowns.
Unless Nick Bosa controls the game. Nick Bosa is going to have 4 or 5 sacks for them to win the game. And they're going to have a pick six at least one time in this game to stay in this game and win this game. I can't see it. And by the way, Deebo Samuel, who's been sensational, he needs to play at the top of his game. They're saying he needs to run the ball, he needs to get a running touchdown and a catching touchdown for them to even stay in this game. If you look at the Rams, Jalen Ramsey will take him and try to take him out. He had a problem doing it last week with Mike Evans. I don't think he's going to do the same this week with Deebo Samuel.